Alright guys, today I thought I would share with you guys a how-to video on how to disassemble and reassemble your reels. This particular reel here is an Ardent reel, and this one here is the Apex Elite, and then if you're curious about as far as gear ratio, it's the 6:5:1. So I've already taken this apart, and it's a brand new reel. It's just a habit of mine. I like to take apart all my brand new reels and remove all manufacturer grease and oil and just put on my own. Not that there's anything wrong with it, I've just found that some put too much or too little. So I've already taken it apart once, and I've removed all of the reel butter from the actual gears. I haven't yet taken it apart as far as down to the worm gear, so that part there might still have some oil or lube on it. But I'll show you guys how I disassemble these, at least to how far I like to, for cleaning and purposes, cleaning and maintenance purposes. Some of the tools you'll need is sometimes I've found that a needle nose pliers is beneficial for removing the retaining pin that holds in your actual worm gear. For this reel here and most reels, a 10mm wrench, a small flathead screwdriver, and then also a small precision screwdriver. Now for cleaning purposes, the only tools I really use is Q-tips, a toothbrush, pipe cleaner, and then I will also just have a rag handy to wipe off all excess grease or lube. You can also use degreaser as well, especially if your reel's pretty bad. As far as oil and grease, I use Abu Garcia products. Yes, this is an Ardent reel, and I have yet to ever use the Ardent actual products of grease, oil, lube, stuff like that. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong with it. It's just this is what I have, and this is what I've been using for the past few years, and it's worked out good for me. Alright, let's go ahead and begin. Start here with your thumb screw. Remove that. If it's too tight, it does have a flathead screwdriver indentation to use that. Preferably attempt to do it by hand first. Put a little pressure on the spring there if need be to remove the side plate. Followed by your spool. Flathead screwdriver. A 10mm wrench. Your drag system here, portion of it. You'll have these two pieces. This piece here that helps make the audible click, and then a washer on the inside of it. With your Phillips screwdriver, you have 3 screws holding this side plate on here. Found with these 3 screws, they are all the same size. And also with the Apex Elite, I found that this side plate comes off much easier than at least on my Apex Grand. We have a bearing here. Then this piece here. This piece here, I only take it off just so that way I don't worry about it falling off while I'm trying to clean off my reel. Flathead screwdriver. This is just in my opinion, this is the getting into the more difficult portion. To get out your worm gear, you have to remove the C-clip on here. So I have the opening of the C-clip facing that way. Sometimes I'll do it differently. And then there's 2 little indentions, openings, that you can stick the corner of your flathead screwdriver into to help pull that out. And then try to make sure to have your thumb over it to help prevent from losing it, because sometimes it will inject while removing or while installing. So I got lucky and it came off pretty easy that time. There's the C-clip, and there's also a washer, which doesn't usually ever want to come off easily. There's your washer. At this point, I'll push right here. At the same time, push down on this gear here. And this pin in here can move freely. So let's see if we can get it to just fall out. Okay, it did. If it doesn't fall out and you can't get your fingers on it, that's where the needle nose pliers will come in play. It's where you can grab it and pull it out. Once you get that part out there, you can go ahead and remove this gear here. And now you can actually get that worm gear out of there. So the worm gear will come out, and also one of the 2 bearings on the worm gear. There's another one on this end here. And with the Ardent reels, that's as far as I'll take it down for cleaning purposes. And I will just run a Q-tip through the inside of here to get out any dirt, debris, old oils, stuff like that. I would also run it down right in here to get out any old dirt and debris. And run my pipe cleaner right here through the line guide. Now if you are interested in actually getting the worm gear housing out, it would be nothing more than removing that screw there, which would allow the bracket here to come off to allow the worm gear housing to come off, to where in case your reel was submerged in water, is seriously bad, will allow you to actually get in and to decrease that bearing there or to replace it. So what we'll do here is we're going to go ahead and start reassembly, and I'm also going to just go ahead and oil and grease the areas that I like to on my reels. So reinsert it worm gear. You can do it with the bearing on or with it off. I just find doing it with the bearing on just makes it kind of align a little bit easier. Now this little pin right here can be a pain in the butt sometimes to get back in. Okay, once it's in, I'm still holding pressure on this side, keeping the worm gear pushed all the way through. And now I'm going to grab the gearing. You just got to get that pin lined up to where I can pull it to where they line up in the T-slot. There we go. Now that that's done, push down on this side and hold pressure on it. If you had your bearing in, just ensure it didn't fall out. And grab your O-ring, or I'm sorry, this washer. Place that on there. Grab your C-clip. Extremely tiny, hard to pick up. Alright, back to what I find is one of the more difficult portions of assemble and disassemble. Now I'm going to just use the flathead screwdriver here at a slight angle to press it back onto the actual worm gear. Once again, ensuring that your thumb is up and over it to help preventing it from injecting and flying across the room. And sometimes this will go easily and sometimes it'll be a pain and take a while. Now if it is extremely easy and if you've done it multiple times, that could also be a good indicator that it's time to replace your C-clip. And for those of you who are really good, have a huge selection of tools and all that stuff, I'm pretty sure there is a tool that's out there made to make this step easier. Let's see how long it takes me to get it on today. Don't forget to hold pressure on the bottom here. Alright, got that on there. Now if you wish to do so, you can put a little bit of grease or real butter on this pinion gear here. Excuse me if I'm getting any of the names of these parts wrong, as I am not a professional in this in real disassemble, cleaning, and all that maintenance. It's more of just a hobby. Screw the hand cap, the cap back on. Once you feel pressure, spin here, ensure that that gear is actually engaged into your worm gear. If and when in fact it is, tighten down by hand. And follow up with cranking it down with a screwdriver and ensure not to over tighten it. Go ahead and grab your faceplate. Bring that back up there. Grab these extremely small screws. Tighten them down. Ensure you don't over tighten it, as it'll crack the actual frame here of that faceplate. Same thing with this side, ensure not to over tighten. Now at this time, before I move any further, what I'm going to do is go ahead and oil. I already actually forgot to oil one of the actual bearings, which was the one under this gear here. So what I'm going to do is get the ones that I can, and I'm going to go ahead and just drip. I like about a drop or two on the actual bearings. Alright, this is my personal preference for the actual worm gear. I like to use the oil. I'll put a couple drops of oil in there. Let me see if I can't get this bearing, since I forgot to do it prior to reassembly. I'm being cautious not to over oil or grease any of your parts, as it will attract dirt. Alright, gonna get ready to go ahead and put this side of the reel back together. We're gonna go ahead and drop actually let's oil this up first, get some good grease on it. So with your grease here, or depending on whatever type of cleaning products you are using, I'm gonna drop a bead up in here. Bring this piece in. Grab your springs. Now in this order, alright, that side down. And then make sure that it actually locks into place, as well as into this gear here. And it should look like so, if you can hopefully see that. Next is this piece here. If you put this in the incorrect way, when you actually depress your spool release, you won't be able to re-engage it. So it's got a flash here. I don't know how to mention it. It's kind of a rounded edges and kind of got more of a flash to it for the upright position, where the bottom is kind of flat edged, a little bit duller on most models. So the rounded edge facing up. Got that washer there, the main gearing, all of this stuff here. Drop it in, ensure it lines up with these gears here. I like to go ahead and just put a small amount of oil on the gearing, especially on the brass ones as well. I'm not putting on that much, just a little bit, just to help with friction. And I like to put a little bit on this side as well. Somewhat overkill, but still not too excessive. Alright, so that way facing up. Let's see here, didn't clean this out yet. My apologies guys, I did kind of do a quick cleaning of this reel already. So the steps of cleaning you're seeing me doing, it's actually a little bit more than what you will be seeing in this video as far as what I do for cleaning. Now from here I like to put a little bit of oil in here. What you can simply do though is put it on this piece here. And this is the Abu Garcia grease that I'm using. Oil up up this bearing here with about a drop or two. Now when you're dropping this on for the side plate retention bar, you have to make sure it goes through the line guide as well as through the frame on the other side. So don't be forcing this down. If you're having issues, make sure that this piece is lining up with everything. And grab our 3 screws that retains this side plate here. Oops. So I like to get all these screws down in there and good, and then I'll follow up with actually giving them a good crank over to ensure they're tight and secured. Once again, not to over tighten, just to ensure that you don't have to worry about your side plate falling off. Alright, so you have this bearing here. While it's out, if you want, just put, drop on one side into the other. Doesn't necessarily have to do it that way. You can just do it on the one side and it will work its way to the other. So just don't overdo it. Okay, from this point here, guys, it is so much easier just to throw on the drag mechanism with the drag star handle and all that, but within that process of tightening down the drag star, I prefer to have my spool in first. So with this reel, at least my reel, you want to ensure that this bearing doesn't fall out, so just put some pressure on that there. I'm jumping ahead. There's a bearing here on the spool. Go ahead and drop your oil onto there, as well as on the side plate with your magnetic brake. Then ensure your bearing doesn't fall out. Insert spool. Lock down magnetic brake side plate. I don't like to use a tool to tighten it down. I just do all my reels hand tighten. Personal preference. Alright, it's not going to stand upright, so now you're going to have to hold it. So, drop on that. Then that. Guys, it's going to look like that. Alright, it shouldn't be smooth in between. You should have that little gap right there. Drop on this piece, and there is a washer inside of this if you can't see it. Ensure not to cross thread, make sure you're getting it threaded on good. Now see how as it starts to move like that? That's why I like the spool inserted already with that side plate, because now I'm going to just depress, hold my thumb on the spool, and now it's not spinning anymore. Crank that down at least to the groove here to allow full, to be able to install your handle. Obviously for tightening the drag down tight enough for fishing will be tighter than that. So we're going to grab this piece here and the beveled end pointed downward, followed by your handle. Put on the nut. Ooh, yep. Ensuring not to over tighten. Tighten just down to the point to where one of the points on the nut is oriented towards this screw hole here. Alright you guys, and that completes the reinstallment of your reel. Alright, so work the oil and grease into the gears. Ensure that it's working appropriately, that you are capable of cranking it, that the line guide is following, is actually moving appropriately. Depress for free spool, ensure re-engages. You know, as in my case, spool it up, put it back on your rod, make your adjustments to the reel of the lure that you have on it, and you're good to go from there. Alright you guys, thank you, and hopefully this could help out some of you. Have a good day.